welcome to the PhotograpHER podcast. My name is Jaime Bugby. I'm your host, and today I have Tiffany Crenshaw of Animal House Photography. She's in North Alabama, and she is going to be my guest, and I'm so excited to have her. I've been a big fan of hers for a long time, so welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too. So I wanted to read something off of your website before we dive in because it
Oh,
really jumped out at me and it was so beautiful. So you have two websites, one's for family photos and the other one is for education. So one they're from each. But the first one was on your education site. It says you don't have to hustle like you don't have kids, and you don't have to parent like you don't have a business. I felt so seen and it just hit me so hard with that. I loved that. So, with that, for anyone meeting you for the first time, can you share like where you're based and what your photography world looks like right now and where that came from for you?
yeah. It's funny you picked that one because I actually had somebody email me and they picked out that same. They're like, I read this and I just felt like this was just what I needed. So I'm glad that's resonating.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we're based out of Huntsville, Alabama, and we moved here, my family, in 2020, March 1st. So right before the pandemic, which we didn't know was coming. So that was a whole crazy journey. But we moved here with my husband and my time two children. I have a 12-year-old daughter, a 9-year-old daughter, and then we have our going out of business sale little baby who's two, our little guy. So yeah, we are a family with three kiddos. We homeschool. We've homeschooled since the beginning. So that's a whole other layer of
Yeah.
fun and challenge at times that it presents. But I really feel like it helps guide the way that I photograph families. Honestly, being able to build that relationship with my own children at home, to be able to capture those moments, to know how fast it goes, and like that life is just messy and busy. I think that really pours into the way that I approach families as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I felt very seen when I read it and I loved it. It's beautifully said. Okay, so the other one was on your family photography site, and it said, and I love this too just as much. I photographed enough first and last, and enough last to know that our own insecurities should never outweigh the beauty and gift of life in this moment. So, with that, how would you describe your approach to photographing families and newborns in your own words? Like, I know you kind of just touched on that, but I love that. And if I had been searching for a photographer in the area and I came upon that, I'd be like, she's the one. Like, it just
Yeah,
really hit me.
yeah, yeah. And that messaging is so true. It's just very vulnerable and real. And, being a family photographer, I build a strong relationship with my clients. I'm very relationship based when it comes
Mhm.
to the clients that come through into my business. And I've had clients that, are expecting their first babies, and that's such an
Mhm.
exciting time. It's such a special time. And as photographers, even being invited into that space, I feel like is a very sacred thing. And it's an honor. Not many people get to spend the first days with a
Right.
newborn, right? And then I've also had clients that have had family members pass away,
Mhm.
little ones pass away, which is
Mhm.
hard. Um,
Yeah.
but they consistently said, "I'm so glad we have these pictures," and so I know that it's valuable. And so I hope photographers realize just what a gift it is to be able to be in that space with people.
Yeah. Wow. Um, you kind of touched on this too, but I want to dive a little deeper into what you were saying. When you talk about photographing enough first and enough last, was there a moment that really helped shaped you? Like what brought that sentence out?
Yeah, I think it was honestly one of my youngest clients a few years ago, and he had chemo. He was 3,
Mm.
and he didn't have a very long battle. It was only a few months, but that little guy, I actually photographed his first steps. We captured like his very first steps on camera, which it's just a beautiful image, and have captured several sessions since then. And speaking with his mom, right before she went out of state to help him with treatments, I was able to order a lot of an album and prints for her to take with her. And after he had passed, he reached out to me and just said these pictures were such a huge blessing while we were away, and I'm just like, I treasure these. And we've kept in contact. She still messages me every year. They have fundraisers, and so I'll go and help participate with that. But it's just been really beautiful to see just what a difference it makes for families.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's really beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. And I also love how anybody listening, like I think a lot of us feel like sometimes we're like, oh, it's not a big deal what we do. I'm not important.
Right,
That is very important. Very.
right.
And side note, I know I just mentioned this before we started recording, but my basement recently flooded, and I had a ton of photos, and I lost some that were really meaningful to me, and I lost the videos. And anyway, that was like out of everything down there, it was the photos that I was most devastated about. So it is really important what we do.
It is. Yeah. And I'm so sorry that I know that is so
Yeah.
hard.
It
So
was.
hard.
I mean, it could have been so much worse. We got really lucky, but it was very stressful. But we're
Yes.
moving on. Now we got it all figured out. But yeah, it was the photos that I was very devastated about. So yeah. Okay. Well, I want to also talk about that sentence a little bit more because I just really honed in on that when I was looking at your website and I loved it. And when you say that you see your clients' fears because you see your own, what personal insecurities have informed you how you show up with clients today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of women can relate to just feeling insecure and feeling not like you want to be in front of the camera. And,
Mhm.
I tell clients I don't actually like having my photo taken. It is
No, I
not
don't
one of
either.
my things that I enjoy doing at all. And I think that comes from just childhood and growing up and, all of the things. Um, and so but I make sure to schedule every year our family photos
Mhm. Same.
because I know that it's important to my children. Like I
Mhm.
know that there's this one image on our wall of me and my youngest daughter, and when we moved here, she was about 3 or 4, and like at least a few times a week, she'd say, "Mommy, I just love this picture of you and me."
Aw.
And so of course I see that picture and I see all of the
Yeah.
flaws, right?
Mhm.
But my children don't. They don't see all of that. And so I just feel really blessed to be able to, even though it's not what I want, I know that it's important. And I know that even by us as photographers showing our clients that, look, I'm doing the same thing. I'm walking through
Yeah.
this same process that you're
Mhm.
walking through. I
Mhm.
think that speaks volumes.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I hate getting my picture taken too, and we do it every year. And I'm heavier than I want to be, and I see
Yes,
all the
always.
things. But when my kids look through them, they have these huge smiles, and we have them on the wall. And I will say too, like as the years pass, I feel less and less insecure about those photos. I actually start to love them even more because I'm like, okay, I was really hard on myself. Like
Right.
I actually see it was like, hindsight's 2020. Like I could really see where I was, and they just became even more meaningful. But of course, like when I first got them, I was like, oh, my stomach and my butt and my
Right.
chin. And then I show my husband and my kids, and they're like, oh, they're great. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll fold you
Right.
later, but yeah.
Right.
So I know for women, that's a big one, but what do you feel like is the biggest insecurities for families as a whole to get in front of the camera? Do you think there's a difference? Do you think it's mostly the mom?
I
What
think
do you
it's
think that?
mostly mom. I think mom just feels like she, like all the things you said, she's like, I haven't lost the weight. I don't look the way I'd want to look in front of the camera. And I think it keeps them from, hitting yes. And I think our our job as photographers is to help them feel that peace and like, listen, I know what I'm doing. I'm not changing who you are. And I'm very clear with that with
Mhm.
my families.
Mhm.
I'm very clear with them that I'm not going to alter who you are. Um,
Mhm.
but I try to assure them, I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to help you make sure that we pick clothes that are going to flatter you and make you feel your best. I'm going to make sure that I give you guidance and direction. And if you're sitting weird, I'm going to tell you, those sort of things. But I make sure to continually convey to them that this is really for your children. Like, yes,
Yeah.
this is for you, but also your children need to see you. It builds their confidence, it builds their connection with you. They want to see their family happy and like on your walls in your home. And so I think just helping them, relating to them, and like and confirming like I understand and I have been there and I feel what you're feeling. But let
Mhm.
me help you see why this is still important.
Okay. So I want to shift into more like motherhood, business, and balance.
Okay,
That
yes.
line where you said, hustling like you don't have kids, where did that belief come from for you? Because I know I have felt like, if when I started my business, everybody was like, "Oh, okay," and like kind of gave me this weird look or something. But if my husband were to start a business, they were like, "Oh, good for you, and you're doing this for your family," and it is. I hate to say it, but it is very different.
Right, it
I feel like
is.
you have to wear so many hats, and then if you want to start a business, it's like, well, why would you do that, and how are you going to do that? You have all these responsibilities.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like when I was really starting in the business side of things, a lot of the education and the coaches and the people that, had the bigger platforms, I feel like the message was so much about like hustle and scaling, right? Like
Yeah.
always scaling.
Mhm.
And I remember feeling like I was fighting so hard to fit in with that crowd, and it just wasn't working. It wasn't where we're at in life. And I
Mhm.
wanted to feel like you can build this business in the way that makes sense for you
Mhm.
and not just, the way that it works for all of these other people. And I even remember, like, I don't remember, who or when, but I remember hearing someone say, we all have the same hours in the day,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I hate that
I
saying
hate it too.
because I'm like, no, it may be 24, but the way that it
Yeah.
has to be used is very different, right? And so I felt like I wanted to grow this business in a way that made sense for my family because I am a mom first and I didn't want to hide that fact. I didn't, even with my clients, with my photography business, I don't hide the fact that I have children.
Mhm.
When clients inquire with me, I'm very upfront with them, letting them know that, in fact, I am a mom first, right? And so I make sure that they know, hey, I have hours. And hey, if we are talking outside of office hours,
Mhm.
then you may hear children in the background.
Oh,
you may hear something. So I try to let them know that I'm a mother first. And I feel like that in a lot of ways helps people connect with me even more. And
mhm.
I try to let photographers know that, yes, we want this to be profitable. We want you to grow. We want it to be sustainable, but not at the cost of your first job, right?
Right. Yeah, amen to that. I had a nothing against male mentors, but I've had a few, and I've been really lucky. I've had amazing mentorships, but there was one that told me one time, like, we have the same hours, and he was male and he had no children, and I was like, dude, no, we don't.
We do
I'm
not.
like,
We
you
do
got
not have the
no idea.
same hours.
I'm like, the moment my alarm goes off, I'm hitting the ground running. Like, I know you get that, and we have to wear so many hats. And then he would say things like, you can say this or something. I was like, I actually can't say that. I
Right.
literally can't say that. And you
Right.
and I know you don't. And then of course it's like, well, you know, are you just saying that because you don't want to do it? It's like, I'd love to say that, but if I say that, I'm going to be a bitch or I'm going to be seen as too forward. I was like, dude, I can't say that. I just can't.
Right.
Maybe,
Right.
maybe in 10 years that will change, but right now I'm not saying that. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I love that you hate that also, because
Yes.
every time I hear that, I'm like, oh my God, no, we
Right.
don't. We do not have the
And
same
it's
hours.
hard. It's hard to watch people maybe outpace you, right?
Yeah.
And see like, man, I wish I was like doing all that she's doing. And it can really like, crush your confidence a little bit. And sometimes you need to tune out. Like sometimes we spend too much time looking at other photographers or other coaches or whatever, and we need to focus just on like what are our goals and what do we want this business to look like? Because it might have to grow slower, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not at all. And mine grew very slow, in my opinion, and I felt like it was like snail pace. And I was looking at all these other photographers, and I was like, why aren't I there yet? But then I had to remind myself, like, you have an infant, you have a 3-year-old, you have a full-time job, you're carrying most of the financial weight. And when I
Right.
really sat down and reminded myself of that, and that I am moving, each little thing I'm doing is helping me move towards that. And in the end, it became this big, huge thing that started to work. I'm so glad I didn't give up, but I really had to remind myself of that because it was really hard and it's devastating when you're working so hard and you feel like you're not moving the needle at all.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, a little bit more on that because I love this topic because I know a lot of the listeners are probably moms and they're feeling the same way. But what did you feel like you had to unlearn about productivity or success once motherhood and business started to overlap? I know you mentioned the boundaries and everything, which is great, but is there anything else in particular that helped you with that?
Yeah, I think also really valuing my time away from the kids and knowing that if I'm saying yes to something, I'm
Hmm.
saying no to something else, right?
Hmm.
So it's either that I'm saying yes to my kids
Hmm.
or it's that I'm saying yes to client. And I had to really be clear about that. Like a lot of photographers feel so guilty when they tell
Hmm.
clients no or when their prices are too high or,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, you're feeling guilty about this person that's kind of a stranger, but you're
Yeah.
not feeling guilty about
Your
leaving
family.
your family and being gone in a way that's not bringing in profit. So, really looking at what is my time away worth? And is this project going to like enhance my family life or is it going to pull away from it?
Hmm. Yeah, I remember the first time that I sat down and looked at my numbers and I realized I was like literally not making any money or it was very little. And it was like a light bulb went off and I just never felt bad again about what I charged. Like it was uncomfortable and I did it, but I was like, no way, like I'm not leaving them again. And then my urge to want to do things for free or for really, really cheap or give people discounts all the time, that just went away. So I think just even sitting down and knowing like, you're running a business and there's costs of doing business and what that is and what you need to charge is super eye-opening. So it makes you feel a little bit more like, no, I'm not doing this just for fun. I actually have to pay
Right.
my bills.
Right. We have bills to pay like any other business.
Yeah.
And
And it's
other
expensive.
businesses don't feel bad. Like,
Mhm.
Target doesn't feel bad. It's just this is the product, this is what it costs. You can choose to invest in it or not. That's fine. And we have to see ourselves the same way. We can't see ourselves as it's like we make it so personal, but
Mhm.
really we got to look at the numbers. And it's
Mhm.
just this is what it costs to have my time and my talent. So
Mhm.
this is the price tag I've put on it. And it's your choice to invest in it, but
Yeah.
it's my choice to honor where I feel like I need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. I love that. How do you balance when life and business start to feel heavy? You again, I think you touched on this a little bit, but how do you balance that or handle that? Because I feel like for me, I've waited so long to get to where I am, and yet, you get to this top of the mountain, then there's a whole nother one, right? And then I feel like, okay, what am I doing wrong? I'm not balancing it. I'm not, how do you walk yourself through that so that you're not like losing your mind?
Yeah. So I think sometimes I really have to just step away.
Yeah.
Like have a reset, Sometimes if it's starting to feel really heavy, then it's like I need to go take an ice cream date with my little guy and know
Oh,
that
I
the
love
business,
that.
like know that the business will still be there. That's the thing. It's always the to-do list is never going away. It's always going to be there. So if it's feeling really heavy, then I'm like, I need to recenter and
Mhm.
do something that feels light, something that feels easy so that I can show back up in a way that is actually going to be useful to my clients.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love the ice cream date. My thing, and I actually really suck at this. I would work 24/7 if I could, but my body would not allow me to do that. and I'll start to get sick. I actually have been working really hard recently, and just too many hours, and then the stress of like the flood and everything in our home, and I started to not feel good last night. I was like, okay, I'm literally just gonna lay here. My kids are old enough to get their own snacks. I have food out, and I'm like, I'm not getting up. I have to lay down. I have to reset. So like a hot bath, going outside, hiking, just getting air, just doing it's like the reel that you see on Instagram where it's like I almost forgot what it was all about, and it's doing those things that you forgot why you did it in the first place, and it
Right.
have more time and do the things that you love. So I love that. I'm gonna
Yeah,
try.
absolutely. Little ice cream dates.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Okay, so I want to shift more a little about your education. Because I've watched you on Instagram and I love your messaging. Of course, I just told you how much I love your website and all of that. It looks phenomenal. But I want to know, at what point did you realize photographers were drawn not just to your images, but how you're living your life and working?
Yeah, so I feel like it was about 2 years ago. And I guess to preface this, so I was a classroom teacher before I was a
Oh,
photographer. So I taught
okay.
elementary. I
Okay.
taught K through five, well, I taught second grade for a long time, and then I taught K through five reading as a reading specialist.
Okay.
And so I always knew I'd end up back in the classroom in some way.
Mhm.
I didn't
Mhm.
imagine it would be through photography.
Right.
But a couple of years ago, I just started feeling that nudge that I need to I need to help other women do what I'm doing because I
Mhm.
see so many people, and you probably see this too, that are like,
Yes.
I'm closing my doors, I'm shutting this down. I
Mhm.
haven't made any money last year, but I'm photographing around the clock, editing like on Christmas, and just
Yeah.
I just was like, I can help these people. Like I feel like, and
Mhm.
I didn't know what that would look like, but I just knew
Right.
I wanted to be able to show them you can build something that's profitable with having children, but it takes intentionality. It doesn't just happen, and it definitely doesn't happen by people pleasing clients.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there was so much focus in our industry on shooting
Yeah.
and like, so many styled shoots. And I love styled
Mhm.
shoots. They're super
Yeah.
fun, but just building that portfolio isn't what is going to
Right.
change the business. And
Right.
so, I started just trying to respond to people as they had questions and things like that. And
Mhm.
then I had somebody reach out to me about mentorship and, so little things. And then I just put it out there for my first conference. It was Reset Conference
Mhm.
for photographers, and had no expectations of like getting accepted. I was just like, I'm going to fill this application out. I'm
Oh.
just going to fill this out. And then I did. And I was like, wow, like I actually love teaching. I missed
Mhm.
it. And being back in that role just felt right.
hmm I love that. I didn't know you were a teacher, but I also I wasn't a teacher, but I was in healthcare, so I love helping people, and I've always loved
Yes.
people coming to me, and I can help them in some way. I feel very fulfilled doing that, so I feel like that's really helped me with working with clients and other photographers. So I love that you had that background, and that's amazing. I think that's what makes you so amazing at it too, is that you were a teacher, or you still are. You're always a teacher, right?
Right. And I think it's funny because I feel like so many photographers are either teachers first or healthcare people. It's like
Yeah.
there's so many of us out
No,
there.
I was like, oh, of course. Like they're all teachers are healthcare providers. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I love that. Was there something you noticed when photographers were coming to you, like patterns that you noticed that they were coming into, and you were like, this is happening a lot? Like I know you kind of mentioned that before, but was there something specific that you heard from them and that you saw this cycle of them doing that you're like, I can definitely get them out of that and help them?
Yeah, for sure. The cycle I kept seeing over and over was these very low prices,
Mhm.
and very arbitrary prices. And I
Mhm.
see it all the time. I see people in Facebook groups that say,
Yeah.
what would you charge? Like, what would you pay for these photos?
Mhm.
And I always comment like the same thing, and people are probably like, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, it doesn't matter what I would pay you. It does
Right.
not matter at all what a random internet stranger will pay you.
Right.
What matters is what does it cost to run your business?
Hmm.
What are your expenses? What is it actually costing you? And what do you want to provide for your family each year? You've
Hmm.
got to start there. So if you know that I'm trying to provide X amount of dollars for my family, but my sessions are $100, and then you divide that and you realize I'd have to shoot 5 days a week, 52
Yep.
weeks a year.
Hmm.
It's just numbers, and it's like, oh, I cannot. Like I literally cannot be profitable
Hmm.
at this price. So helping them just really look at numbers, and I think it's an aha for so many people. They're like, "Oh, I have to charge this to
Yeah.
make this much?" I'm
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, so how are we going to get you
There.
there?" You know, so instead of just pulling that pricing off the internet somewhere or asking people, really helping them to learn to look at it strategically.
Yeah. I remember the first time I realized what I would have to charge, and I was like, I can't do that. And now I do more,
Right.
but at the time I was like, I can't do that.
Right.
And at the time I probably couldn't have because I didn't have other things set in place. But
Right.
no, wait, I didn't realize like you can if you have X, Y, and Z, but you're gonna have to, or you're gonna get burnt out. You're not gonna be happy. You're literally not gonna make any money. So I'm so glad you touched on that.
Yeah,
Do
absolutely.
you feel like there's I hear this all the time and I'm always torn on this. Do you feel like there's that middle pricing where people get lost? Do you believe in that? Like, I'm not sure what I think about that. Like, I'm always like, well, if it's what you have to charge and you are making money at that price, but it's in the middle, like four, five, $600. Do you believe in that? Like, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, the middle lane. I heard, and I don't remember which book it was, but I was listening to a book and
Mm,
it was talking all about the death of the middle lane. And it
mm,
was talking about shopping, actually. It was talking about how, we used to be like Sears and J.C. Penney and like all these places
mhm,
were, considered more like high-end shopping. And they were like the department store, the malls, right? And so you had that, and then you had like your bigger named stores that were considered really luxury, but you had
mhm,
nothing in the middle, right? You just had
mhm,
like you had the store, like the mall stores, and then you had these higher end stores. And it was just talking about how when Amazon came, all
mhm.
of a sudden there was this middle, like this lane that kind of merged the two. And so,
Yeah.
no longer was it like, oh, you're either like the very cheap or you're either the high. There was this like new middle place. And so,
Mhm,
but thinking about that, what happens when you're in the middle is there's so it's you're not speaking to one person. You're just kind of like
true.
you're so generic, right? It's
Mhm,
the Amazon. Like you become kind of like the Amazon, right?
mhm,
And I think, if your prices we have to start, we have to build. And like you said, you can't just stick a number. You can't just say today I'm charging $2,000 and you
right.
have no systems in place for that. And you have no client experience in place for that, right?
Yeah.
You gotta build to that. However, I do think the middle just kind of gets lost because there's nothing really special about it, right?
Right.
You're not appealing to the people that are really low, like I can only afford $150 session. You're not
Mhm.
speaking to them. You're
Right.
also not speaking to the people that are prioritizing experience and like
Right.
elevated product, elevated experience. You're just kind of in this generic zone. So I think that it's not a great place to be,
Mhm.
and maybe your brand is not luxury. I think
Mhm.
we use that word luxury a lot and it kind of
Mhm.
gives the stigma of like wealthy, rich, that,
Yeah,
but it doesn't have to be. There's things that
exactly.
can make you elevated and still down to earth. It can just be in the way you serve your clients,
Yeah.
right? So I think being cautious, I think when
Mhm.
you're the middle is a hard place to sell to because your message is so broadcast as opposed to being really refined and focused on a set group of people.
Yeah. I love what you said about luxury too, because I say I'm a luxury photographer, but mine is not like Martha Stewart or Vogue. It is the experience. It's experience driven. And I will say all of my clients, when they leave, they're like, wow, that was really amazing. Like, I felt really taken care of. I felt seen. You delivered. Like, you have to deliver too. Like, if you're not delivering a great experience and photos, obviously, that needs to work and things like that. But
Right.
I love, it was scary for myself to call me that, but that's what I meant by I want to be myself, which I am down to earth, but I also want them to feel like wowed at the same time.
Right.
So,
And, I am not one that, like, I would say luxury in terms of my pricing and experience. However, I am not like putting a show on for anybody. I let people know, and I feel like that's actually what resonates with the clients I serve is a
yeah.
lot of them are moms as well,
Mhm.
and life is crazy. They
Mhm.
don't want a ton of like fuss to go through with their session. They just want to feel relaxed. They just want to have fun. They want to feel like, I made their family look good.
Mhm.
But they know that at the core, I'm a homeschooling mom. And I
Mhm.
say it everywhere. I don't hide the fact that I have children,
Mhm.
and so there have been times like I have consultations here in the studio, and if it's not during my normal times, I let them know, hey, I
Mhm.
may need to step away and take care of my 2-year-old or bring him in here.
Right.
And I feel like they value that actually because they
Yeah.
feel free to show
Yeah.
up as who they are, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think you don't have to pretend, like, you don't have to go and have the nicest car and, all of
Right.
a sudden look like money. I don't
Yeah.
think that's what it's about. I think it's just about serving at the best capacity that you can for your clients.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I love that. I I would feel very seen, and when people like if I can relate to somebody, it makes me feel better because I'm like, oh, okay, they get it. So I love that you mentioned that about your kids going and they're like, if I've ever hired somebody or another photographer, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, my kid, and I'm like, it's fine. I actually feel more relaxed now that
Yes.
it's chaos because that is my life.
Right. And I communicate with them that, prior to your session, yes, I'm a mom first and there's a lot of things going on in my own life taking care of my kids. But when I show up for you,
I'm
you
there.
get 100% and they know that. And so I think that makes them feel at ease. You know that, when I'm there for you 110%.
Hmm.
And so when we have to hop on a phone call about wardrobe and the baby is crying, I
Yeah.
don't feel the need to hide the fact that I have a baby.
Yeah.
So, you
Mhm.
know, um, and I built this business for them. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not going to always put them to the side. They are going to come along in some capacities, right?
Mhm.
Not when I'm shooting, obviously, because that
Yeah.
would be a disaster. But,
Yeah.
it just makes you feel human, I think, to people.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I want to shift into your retreat a little bit more and talk a little bit more about that. And I was looking over your website and again, just watching you on Instagram. It seems like so much of your work around that is talking about slowing down and clarity and alignment. Was that your realign retreat born out of the need that you felt like you needed or what your clients were coming to you for? Where did that come from?
So, fall of 2021, I remember I was sitting in the parking lot for waiting for my clients to get there for a session. And I was just crying. I was so burned out. I was tired. I did not want to take any more. It was November. I didn't want to take another picture. I didn't want to edit a picture. I wanted nothing to do with my camera. And I think photographers can relate to like that end of fall feeling where you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
You're right.
And I realized, you know what? It shouldn't feel like this. Like,
Right.
I shouldn't be so resentful being here for a session that someone's hired me for. So
Hmm.
there's a problem. And the problem was that the business was running me. I was not one, I wasn't charging exactly where I needed to be. Also, I was taking on too many clients because I was so deep in the woods that I didn't even realize how many yeses I was giving out, right? I was just booking stuff.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so at the end of that season, I felt like I just need a couple of days to clear my head and actually look at what happened this year. Like what even how I don't even know what I made. I don't even like nothing. I'm just surviving. I need to go and have a couple days. And so I went away for a few days to Atlanta. I have a friend that
Mhm.
lives there, and they have like a downstairs guest house. I stayed there for 3 days, and I just went through all of my numbers, all my metrics,
Mhm.
everything that happened, and then I planned for the next year. That
Wow.
next year was the best year that I had had. It was like I felt super clear on what I was doing, what I was offering, how many sessions I was going to schedule. I had systems in place. Like I just felt like I could breathe again. And so after that, I thought, you know what? I'm such an extrovert, to be honest. I just love people. And I was like, what if I did this, but brought some like other people along with me. So
Mhm.
that is where the retreat was born from. And last year was the first year that I hosted it and opened it up to other photographers.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Something that really inspires me what you do is your CEO days. Can you tell me about that? Is there
Yes.
a difference between like your end of your CEO day and your monthly CEO day?
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that.
So I have my CEO weekend, which that is essentially what the retreat is. Although now I also take a couple days. I don't go far away. Like this year, I rented an Airbnb local here in Huntsville and spent like 36 hours
Wow.
doing all of that, like what I had shared, like going through everything. So I do that once a year, and then I also have a quarterly day. The quarterly day is a little shorter. I don't usually rent a place unless I just feel like I need to like clear my head.
Yeah.
But I take a full day, no appointments, no phone calls. Like I'm just here in the studio and I check in on those goals that I made at the beginning of the year. So I do like a Q1 check in and I kind of
Mhm.
do the same thing, but on a smaller scale. And then I have a monthly admin day, and that might be like 4 hours. And that day is more just really looking at, okay, what have I made this month? Am I close to where I need to be? Do I need to shift anything for the month for next month? What's coming up? Do I need to pay some invoices? Like it's all that kind of like the little nitty gritty stuff in the on the back end.
Yeah.
So that's my monthly day.
I love that because that's the stuff I hate doing.
Yes, we all hate doing that. We're artists. We're not like here to,
I
you
just
know,
like paint pretty pictures and take photos.
right.
Yeah, but I know I obviously know I have to do more and I do more, but it just makes me feel uncomfortable. It's kind of like opening up your checkbook and you're like, oh, I want to look, but do I want to look?
Exactly. And I don't ever want to look, but
Yeah.
I get anxiety every year when I have these CEO days or the weekends that I take. I have anxiety every year and I'm like I really don't want to even though I've been tracking and it does help when you start doing quarterly check-ins with yourself. It helps that anxiety go down some because it's not a super shocker. Like you've been seeing it all year. But
Yeah.
still there's that little bit of like, what really happened and
Yeah.
but I think you got to push through that because those days have the ability to completely transform your business.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
really.
I can, and you've done it, that's exactly why you are where you are because you've sat down and you've done the things that are, I always say it's unsexy stuff that moves,
Yes.
moves the needle and we don't like doing it. And I think too, there's somewhat of like a shame feeling when we do look
Mm-hmm.
at it. 'Cause we're like, we should have done this. I should have done this better. I should have done this. But the fact that you're even doing it, I mean, that's pat on the back. Like you're doing it. You are not only, a mom of three kids and you're doing amazing, but like you are the CEO of your business, which I love that because I think that's a hard role to step into, especially as a female photographer. We're scared to say that.
Right.
I don't know why, but it is really scary. So I love that you do that. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, thank you. And you're right. It's hard to say it, but I think that's people just need to like just say it. Like maybe even just I don't know, say it when you say it before you start working for the day. Like,
Yeah.
you are a CEO, whether you want and being honest with yourself, really thinking, do I want to be the CEO of a business or do I want to take pictures? Because they're not the same and they don't and it's
Right.
okay. It is okay to not want a business. Like
Yes,
that's fine.
I get
But
that.
what's not okay is to half run it and then it doesn't do anything for you. So you're not really getting the benefit of the art or the business side. You're just kind of floundering in the middle there.
Yeah, I always ask myself too. I'm like, do you want to do this or do you want to work for somebody else? Are you more uncomfortable with that, and I'm like, oh, I'll do it. That's fine. I want to work for myself. Like I
Yes.
see why people don't want to, and that's fine, but this is a good fit for me. So
Yeah. I
I love
don't think I can go. I mean, of course, if we had to, like, of course you do
sure.
what you need to, but the thought of like having to be somewhere
Oh my God,
for
I know.
like hours a day, like I really can't fathom it anymore. I'm like, I
No,
don't want to ever have to clock in and like be somewhere ever again.
I know, and I feel bad saying this because I've worked at amazing places. I haven't like had like a specific like terrible office, but this morning I took my daughter to coffee and I was like, I there was a dental office there. She goes, "Oh, did you used to work there?" And I was like, "No." And I got this really icky feeling. And I was like, "Oh, I'm just so glad I don't have to walk in there." And I mean, they're probably lovely people and fine, but for me, I'm like, I can't. I just can't. It's just not for me. So yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I feel you so much on that.
Yeah. So again, getting into your retreat, a few more questions about that because
Yeah.
that's so exciting. Who is this retreat for? Just not on paper, but like energetically, like who is that person that this is perfect for?
Yeah. And I love that question because I actually did some work earlier this year at really redefining like who is this for? Because same with photography, we got to figure out who our that client is, right? And
Mhm.
it's sometimes we're just broadcasting to the world and
Yeah.
we don't have a clear, and I feel like that was a little bit where I was at. And so I have a much better vision of who that woman is right now,
Mhm.
and it's really a place for women that have been doing this for a little while.
Yeah.
So they're not, it's not a place to learn how to use your camera. It's not a place to learn like editing or styling and that sort of thing. And as much as I love those things, I really wanted this to be different. I wanted this to be somewhere where women came, they got high level support and education, not just from photographers. Like I've got other educators coming in that are experts in different fields,
Yeah, I
not
see that.
photography.
So
And
cool. Yeah.
so, yeah, so I want it to be a space where you can come, you can get education and support from people that actually can help you make money and handle the business side of things. And for you to have a few days to just be able to build community with other women that are also like, we're also trying to make this thing work and figure this out, right? And so it's really just for that person that's been doing this for a little bit, but and has some grasp on like they're profitable, right? It wouldn't be a great fit for someone that is just starting out and
Yeah.
hasn't made any profit yet. This is really, for someone that's kind of, and I hate the word scaling, but just ready to really to continue to grow each year. They
Yeah.
have that like mindset of I really need to grow this. I've got my shooting down. I'm good with my camera, but
Mhm.
I really want to keep refining the business side and growing in that way. And then of course people that are just girls, like this is not a stuffy retreat. This is not for like clicks and like there's no hierarchies here. It's really about, are you someone that likes to cheerlead other people? Are you someone that's going to come in the room and not judge, and not be, oh, I'm here, but you're, maybe you only made 30,000 this year and I made 100,000. And so there's this weird, it's not that. And that's not me. So I'm
Thanks.
really trying to like keep it a safe space for people that are just really cheerleaders for others.
Yeah. I love that you said safe space. That's what I was thinking of when you were talking about that. Feels like a safe space just from what you're talking about. When you have a photographer there, or when your last retreat and they step away from the noise and they step into intentionality, what do you see them walk away with when they're leaving your retreat?
So I think for me, the thing that gets me most excited is when they go home and they're like, I just feel on fire. Like I'm just ready to do things, right? Because obviously 4 days is not enough to correct your whole business. Like you're not coming to completely change every system in your business. You're coming to get clarity on your next steps. You're coming to get inspired and to have a set plan for the year so that you have like a template to work from, right? And so when they leave and they're just like, I'm like ready to get home. I've never been more excited to work on my
Mhm.
business. I love that. That is for me like the best. And then even just the fact that they want to come back. Like last year, I had 75% of the women that came last year by the end of the weekend had already signed up for this year. And so for me, that was just like, yes, they're excited about this community. They're excited to do it a little bit differently. Um, so that for me is a win.
That's amazing. I love that. I want to go. I
I
would
know. I
go.
want you to go.
You know, I would. I have another retreat I'm going to that I can't miss, but I would
Yes.
love to go. It looks so awesome.
We'll
Um,
have to touch on it for next year. So,
yes, for sure. It is on my
yeah.
wish list. I always have a list of like retreats and other things I want to do the next year, and yours is on the top. So
Yeah.
I would love that. How many people are usually there?
So, funny you asked that. So last year was our first year,
Uh-huh.
and there were 4 women that came last year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this year we have 11 women
Wow.
that are going to be there. So
Okay. You
I'm
are growing.
excited
Hmm.
and like, okay, this is a full house.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
but I'm also excited about the energy that will, because I thrive on like just that energy and that sense of fun and
Hmm.
sisterhood
Hmm.
and so we'll see. I'll report back to you, but
Okay.
I'm excited. And for me, it's not something that I'm looking to grow in the sense of,
Hmm.
I don't want a conference.
Sure.
I don't imagine it ever being more than 12.
Okay.
12 to 15 with having other educators there to have like support for small groups.
Yeah.
That's my vision. I'm not looking for it to be a conference because I love the environment of community. So,
Yeah, I love the more intimate approach. The students that I have in my course right now, they're like, we really like this intimacy, and I do too. So I love that. I mean, I love going to the bigger stuff too, but the smaller things, I definitely feel more on fire and more connected and
yeah.
aligned. So,
And then
uh,
your students have built in, besties that they can
yeah,
continue connecting. It's not just you, right?
right.
They've got these other, like I know there's going to be friendships that form this,
Mhm.
that weekend that will continue with
Oh, for
for
sure.
them. And I love that.
Yeah, because it's a bit of a lonely road. You know, you're usually at home in front of your computer. A lot of that work is there, and meeting other people and you're like, oh, I am on the right track, or they think the same thing that I do, or they felt lost on this. Like, you don't feel so alone and you feel like you're going in the right direction.
Right. Yes,
Is that what,
absolutely.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Is that what you hope your students leave with? Like, I know business wise what they're leaving with, but what do you hope that they leave with personally?
Yeah. I want them to walk away feeling seen for one, feeling like, okay, I'm not doing this alone. Like somebody understands me and cares. And I also want them to walk away feeling confident,
Mm-hmm.
feeling like I have the tools and the support system to actually do this.
Hmm.
I'm not doing it by myself. I want them to feel confident when
Hmm.
more confident when they leave than when they came in. That to me would just make it feel like, okay, I did my job. These women are inspired and they're confident. They're great artists already, but they
Yeah.
need someone to help show them like you're doing amazing things. You're showing up, and that's honestly more than a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I do know. Yep. That's a good reminder. I have to tell myself that too. I'm like, I showed up
you
today.
showed
Even
up
if it was
today.
20
Like
minutes, I did it.
we gotta celebrate. We gotta get better at celebrating the small wins. Like
Yeah.
not
Exactly.
everything has to be grand.
Right.
We need to celebrate the fact that we kept going, the fact that we tried again, the fact that this thing failed yesterday, but maybe it'll work tomorrow,
Mhm.
and I'm
Mhm.
committed to trying.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I have one last question before
Yeah.
we wrap this up. So for a photographer who's listening to you right now that feels like something is off, but they can't quite name it, what would you want her to know and hear right now?
I think it's normal. Like when we feel that out of alignment, like something is not right. I think something that helps that I would encourage us to all do regularly is to go back to the why of our business. And
Mhm.
I that's something with my group coaching that we always start with. And I know some people feel like maybe it's fluff, but it's really
Mhm.
not,
Right.
because so much of what we do starts with our mindset
Yeah.
about things. And going back to the why you started this, and not just, okay, so you've got your first, I always say like the 5 levels of why. So, you
Mm.
start with the why, and then you ask yourself, okay, but why? And you keep taking that deep as you possibly can, because it'll get to the root of really what your inspiration is for your business.
I love
And
that.
that will help you filter out, okay, what am I doing in my business right now that is not connected to what I'm saying is at the core of it? And you can start to get rid of things that are not lining up with that. So I would just encourage you to spend some time, get some coffee, spend a few hours like away from your computer, and just start writing out really, really what your heart behind this is. I think it'll help recenter you and
Yeah.
help you to be able just to move forward with more clarity.
Yeah, I love that because I tend to just go work, 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 work mode, and I don't slow down to go fast. I always say slow down to go fast.
Yes.
And that's not me. I got that from a book I read a long time ago. I wish it was me, but
I think we read the same book because I also like
oh,
that. Yeah.
was it what is it called?
Or maybe I just heard somebody say it because I'm like, yes, you got to go slow to go fast.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes, but it was
Yeah.
it changed my life, and it's when I sold skincare before I was going to be a photographer. So when
Okay.
I wanted to leave hygiene, and at the time my friend was like, "You should sell skincare," and I'm like, "Okay, I'm not really passionate about that, but I do want to leave, and I want to do photography." And I was thinking like, well, I probably can't make very much money doing that, so I'll do skincare. Anyways, it all worked out, and that being in that environment was so inspiring, and although I sucked at that, it did help me get in this mindset of like, I can change my mind, I can do whatever I want, and I can build a business. So I was so thankful for that experience. You
Yeah.
work out, but I'll have to remember that's gonna drive me nuts. I'm gonna put it
Yeah,
in
you'll have to find it.
the
It's such a smart quote, though. I
It
mean,
is.
really, you
Yeah,
gotta
because
go slow to go fast.
I love that you said like just writing it all down because I haven't done that in years and I should do that. So I love that. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it.
Yes. You'll have to let me know how it
I
goes.
will. So, for anyone that's feeling really connected to you and wants more information about your retreat or just reach out to you, where can we find you at?
Yep. So they can go on Instagram, Tiffany Crenshaw EDU, and
Mhm.
also my website, which I'm sure we can put in the notes, but that's
Mhm.
the tiffanycrenshaw.com, and they can find out about coaching and retreat and all those things. Get on the wait list for next year. But I also love just a good DM to say, hey, I
Yeah.
listened to your episode and really connected with you. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was so awesome and so inspiring, and you gave me some tools that I really need to work on for myself. So, I really appreciate your time.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.